Hi everyone, this is Phil Travis, and this announcement is for American History Part 1, and this is the Week 4 announcement. This week we have a major assignment. We have a test this week, and this test has a study guide associated with it, and you'll find the study guide in modules. The study guide is a list of terms. You'll see these terms. You'll also notice that some of the terms are in bold. The terms are in bold, and it describes this on the study guide, but I'll tell you now, the terms that are in bold are terms that you'll choose from for writing identifications on your test. So on the test, you'll have to write 3 or 4 short identification responses, and you'll be able to choose from the identifications that are put in bold on the study guide. In the test, when you're taking the test, you can choose which ones you want to write about. So if you look at those on the study guide, the bold-faced ones, they'll appear just as they appear on the test. They're identifications, meaning I want you to answer the who, what, when, where, and why is this significant. And I want you to do this in about 1 or 2 concise paragraphs. Remember, use specific detail drawn from the class. There are some items on there like Bacon's Rebellion that we talked about at length in class discussion. We also had that topic on a quiz. It was also involved in the announcement. So I would expect many of you to choose Bacon's Rebellion. Others we haven't covered in as much depth but are discussed in the textbook. So make sure you look over the study guide well before you take it. I recommend starting the week, look at the study guide, study during the week, in addition to the other items that we're doing in class, and then take the test at the end of the week when you're fully prepared for it. So just remember, the other IDs, just be able to identify those with true, false, multiple choice type questions. The bold-faced ones, be prepared to write a short paragraph or 2 that uses specific detail to explain the who, what, when, where, and why is this significant. And the exam is, of course, due Sunday by midnight at the end of this week. Next week, at the end of week 5, we will have our first paper option due. Now remember, in this class, you only have to write 1 paper, and you have 3 options to write that paper. So if you don't want to do the first option, you can do the second option. And each paper option comes the week after the test, with exception of the third one, because the last test is at the end of the class. I highly recommend that everybody, if you don't do the week 1, the first paper option, make sure you do the second one. Don't leave yourself without having done a paper at the end of the term, particularly because if you do that, if you do either the first or the second option, then you can always drop the lowest grade if you choose to write the third option. So you can write 2 papers and I'll take the highest score. So if you do the first paper and you don't do as well as you'd like, you can do the second paper or the third paper and potentially pull up that grade. This week we are dealing with the American Revolution, and next week we'll be talking about the formation of the country, the Articles of Confederation period, the formation of the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. Our reading this week is from Eric Foner's textbook, chapter 5 and 6, and I also have a primary source document, Thomas Paine's Common Sense, that I will also be asking you to take a look at, which is part of our discussion this week, and it's also a topic for the study guide. So that will help you doubly for reading that and participating in the discussion forum, as always. Okay, I think that's about it. How about the factoid for this week? The factoid for this week is this. And remember, if this is the first announcement you're watching, remember that each announcement I provide you with an interesting historical factoid. And all you have to do is email me that factoid no later than Wednesday by midnight, and I will give you a bonus point on one of your tests at the end of the term. If you do all of them, I add them all together, and I add all of those to a test score at the end of the term. So it's a really great way to boost your grade up. If you do all of the extra credit factoids, which started in week 2, if you do them all, you'll probably boost your grade up by maybe 3 or 4 percentage points. If you just started this week, you'll probably still boost your grade up by about 3 percentage points. So it's a really fun and helpful way to boost up your final score in the class And it's kind of a fun way, I think, to engage history. So I'm going to tell you a factoid. All you have to do is email me the factoid. Just summarize as best you can, no later than by Wednesday, by midnight. And I take that factoid and I put it in a separate folder in my email. I don't always respond to you when you send me the factoid email, just so you know. Sometimes if you say something interesting or you ask me a question, I'll respond. Other times I'll just say, okay, so-and-so got the factoid, boom, over in the folder. They get credit for that. Just to know that. So this is the factoid for this week. The American Revolution is an event that was successful largely because of the involvement of the international community in the American Revolution. Now, American revolutionaries, George Washington, individuals like this were very, very significant, of course. But without the participation of important international players, the French, for example, then the American Revolution undoubtedly would not have succeeded. This factoid is about a very interesting international volunteer to the Continental Army of George Washington. Baron von Steuben was a Prussian military man. And Prussia makes up part of what is today Germany and other countries as well. He was a Prussian military man. The Prussians were like the original innovators of modern military drill and tactics. They were a military state, and they had great prowess when it came to these matters. Baron von Steuben volunteered to join the Continental Army of George Washington. He did so without any promise of pay, and he did so with great risk. And the reason he did so was because in Europe at the time, he had been accused of being a homosexual. And for that reason, his career was basically done in Europe. And so because of this accusation against him, he met with Benjamin Franklin, who basically told him that there's no way that the Continental Revolutionary Army could pay him, but that we would take any help that we would have. Benjamin Franklin was in France at the time. And so Benjamin Franklin encouraged Baron von Steuben to come to the colonies, but he encouraged him, letting him know that there was significant risk that A, he wouldn't be paid, or that the revolution, not that Benjamin Franklin was necessarily saying it might not succeed, but there was great risk in this way. And certainly the revolutionaries couldn't promise him that he could be paid. Baron von Steuben made the trip to North America, to the American colonies. He was actually almost shot at one point because American revolutionaries thought he was a British spy. But ultimately, Baron von Steuben joins the Continental Army in a time of great desperation during the period of 1776 and 1777. And he really helped to turn the Continental Army into a true professional army. He taught them basic things like where to position latrines so you don't get sick. He taught them things like how to conduct a bayonet charge effectively. And he ultimately became a great friend, I suppose you would say, of the soldiers. The soldiers used to get a kick out of the fact that he would curse at them in French. And the soldiers did not speak French, generally speaking. And he had a translator with him. But he would curse at them in French as he was treating these drills and really shaping the Continental Army. So Baron von Steuben, an individual who joined the Continental Army without any promise of pay, who had been run out of Europe largely because he was accused of being homosexual, and ultimately was almost shot by American revolutionaries, became one of the most fundamental players in organizing the Continental Army. It is yet another example of why or how international events factored in to making the American Revolution successful. International players factored in to making the American Revolution successful. And it's also a testament to the promise of the United States that an individual who was run out of his homeland because he was considered accepted there was able to come to the American colonies and find a place, and a very, very important one at that. All right, everybody, let's have a great week. Email me that factoid no later than Wednesday. Do well on that test. Let me know if you have any questions, and let's have a great week.